I am so excited that you guys have joined me today. I am here with Patrick Eilers, and he's a counselor to give us some advice and to talk to us today on a very sensitive subject. And I want to put a disclaimer here. If you're with kids in the car, we're going to be talking about some adult issues that we need to discuss. So I just want to give that to you as a heads up. Patrick has a background in sexual addiction and helping people overcome these very issues. So please help me welcome Patrick Eilers.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate being here.
So if you are an isolator, I'm going to just use that as a term, and you are the one that has been blocking out people coming into your space, what are some first steps that you would take in order to say, I am worthy, I do deserve love, and I do deserve friendships and social interaction with other people? What are some first steps that you would recommend somebody take to, I don't know, maybe lower that wall just a little tiny bit?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is awareness is huge. And this has been something I feel like throughout the process that I've learned specifically about sex addiction is that awareness really makes a huge impact as far as what are you aware of those negative self-talks. Typically, we're wired to be connecting with people. That's just how we are. So we look for relationships, look for connections. If we don't have that, we're going to try to meet that need. Here's another reason why acting out happens because people try to meet their own needs in that way rather than having it, dependent on our people. So part of that first, I think if you are isolated, the first thing you can do is start to take awareness or take an inventory of what are your thoughts? What's your thought life look like as far as about yourself? If you were to take an inventory of you, if you were to say, okay, here's all the list of things that are good about me, here's all or positive about me, or here's things that I like about me, versus here are the things I don't like about me. And if the list I don't like about myself is longer than the list about what I like about myself, I probably need to think about how do I see myself? What's my view? So that's one area that's kind of taking awareness of that. The other thing I think too is with that goes part of also taking that inventory and raising that awareness is do my beliefs align with who I really know to be? I think because again, part of it is understanding who I am. And if I don't know what that is, I don't know what those are totally, I can't have a clear picture of those things. I start taking an inventory of who do I want to be? Where's my congruency? A lot of times, especially with when you're talking about addiction thrives in contradiction. So it really, anytime there's places in our lives that we're incongruent, probably when we're going to see some of those things pop up. So we want to look at least in this case, we're talking about negative self-talk. We want to look at, okay, I say it, I don't care about myself over here, but then yet I do these other things over here that seem like I can do good self-care or et cetera, whatever. Those are incongruent. So I need to have my serenity is really all parts of me lining up. So what I say in my mind, what I say comes out of my mouth, and then my behavior is total serenity. It's all three of those things aligning. The more things that I have incongruent, the more likelihood that I'm probably going to be either struggling with some type of addiction or some type of secrets in my life, or people are going to be seeing a different version of what I really am than behind the scenes. So part of it, I think, is opening up that idea of, can I see myself in congruency? And with that congruency, can I see myself as the person I really know to be?
Let's go back for just a second. You made a comment a couple of minutes ago about forgiveness, and you said forgiveness is not a one time thing. Forgiveness happens over and over and over again to the people who have hurt us. And I love the fact because it seems like an unconditional kind of love concept where it's not that we just accept all kind of bad behavior, but that we keep forgiving over and over again. And I take that over to the clutter corner for a second, where sometimes we clean out our closets and we get rid of stuff. And then lo and behold, it comes back again and we have to declutter yet again. And I think it is an ongoing process. Can you give us some tips on the ongoing process of removing things from our lives? We'll talk about the clutter as well as the relationships where we're removing the things that are not healthy for us in a constant state of trying to replace it with something that is healthier.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think both from a physical and a relational perspective, the first thing is, am I impulsively bringing these things into my life? So, for example, I talk about forgiveness regarding like emotions. If I have somebody who's hurt me and they have said, and I've forgiven them once, well, am I just impulsively going back to that anger? Am I impulsively going back to this space? Well, the differences between collective and collecting and hoarding is collecting has intention, hoarding has impulse. So I think if we're talking about the clutter piece, am I allowing myself to be intentional because when I choose forgiveness, I'm being intentional. So that's me being intentional to choose to say I'm letting it go. I'm not let that be something that's going to, have domain over me, so to speak. The other thing I'm doing with that as well is I'm choosing to, in that intention, to make a different decision than to just be impulsive based on my feelings. Again, feelings are not facts. So when we just feel something, that's very impulsive. So I didn't mention that earlier. When we're talking about kind of compulsive behavior. The difference is that after so many times, my impulse becomes my compulse, meaning that I just feel, so we'll use sadness. I feel sad. I'm going to go grab my pint of ice cream, just as an example. That's a compulsive behavior. I've aligned those two things. And to a forgiveness perspective, or even like a clutter perspective, if my impulse is to go to the store or go to Amazon, have a little shopping cart on there, and I want to add something on there because, oh, it looks cool. And that adds that, makes me feel good for a little bit. I get the little hit of dopamine. I'm very impulsive. It's not something I'm being very intentional. But if I'm choosing to collect something, I'm going to go online. I'm going to be very particular what I'm looking for. I'm not just going to take the first thing I find on eBay that looks like it's going to be a good fit for me. I'm probably going to spend my time with it. So the same with forgiveness. Forgiveness can't be impulsive. It has to be something I have to choose to do. But anger and resentment can be very impulsive because it just feels this way, and this is what I'm going to respond to it. So I think if you think about that term, how intentional are we being on the things that we're collecting, the things we're putting in our house, things that we're putting in our heart, things that we're putting in our life? That's a big part of it. Because if it's all impulsive, I'm just going to take whatever's available to me. If I'm intentional, I'm going to take what's specific for me, to my goal, and to who I know to be.
Oh, I love this conversation, and I appreciate you joining us here today. Patrick, will you tell our listeners where they can go to find you and your practice?
Yep, absolutely. The practice website is northpoint-counseling.com. So you'll see my bio. You'll see the bios of my other colleagues here who specialize, again, sex addiction, partner trauma. If you're interested in checking us out, that's where you get from the website there. My personal Instagram is rated_PGE. My email is Patrick Eilers, my name, .we, like we, at gmail.com. So that's my personal email. I also have a LinkedIn account. It's just my name and has my credentials. And so those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me if you want to get in touch with me directly.
I really appreciate Patrick being willing to have some of those hard conversations with us as we work through our journey of humanity. And we have some of those tough conversations that are those honest conversations that are going to keep us moving from point A to point B in our journey. So thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks, Angela. Really appreciate it.